welcome back to a new free live tutorial. Today we're going to talk all about yarn. I'm calling it the Yarn Secret Live Tutorial. So everything a crocheter should know about yarn. So I'm not covering every tiny detail, but it's going to be a lot of secrets that I'm sharing, which I believe are secrets. The reason I call them that way because nobody really talks about it, right? So like certain fibers, how they're made and all those things, I feel like we should talk more often about it because all crocheters are experiencing it, but it's not talked a lot about. So I'm just going to call them secrets because you probably don't know about it, aka it was a secret. But by the end of the live tutorial, hopefully it's not a secret for you anymore, and therefore you have gained some knowledge and you should be good to go in the future. Now, you should not keep that secret for yourself. You should tell crocheters about it though. Lead them back to this video if you want them to learn about yarn secrets as well. And of course, also talk about the really brand new and very, very popular viral ebook, which is all about crochet tips, more than 900 crochet tips, which is currently on sale. So if you haven't grabbed your copy yet, you should. Oh my God, we have so much to talk about. Are you guys ready? We're going to go and jump right in, but really quickly, I want to remind you, we're going to give away some prizes at the end. So if you haven't shared yet, go ahead and share. Tell your crochet besties to join us. If we reach more than 100, then meaning 100 viewers, we're going to give away 3 prizes. Otherwise, we're going to do 2. So it's up to you. I just shared everywhere. Now it's your turn to share. All right. Are you guys ready? I'm going to go right into the very, very important lesson about yarn skein versus ball versus hank. Now, most crocheters know the difference, but because I know there are some beginners in here, we should clarify what they mean, right? So what you see here on the left where it says just yarn, okay, it is a skein. A skein is kind of wrapped around, it almost looks like a tube-like thing. You can wrap the yarn in a way that it looks like it's wrapped in all kinds of directions, but it's kind of elongated. So if you compare with a ball's kind of more like a cake, right? Well, there are some people that call balls cakes, so I should be clarifying on that, right? I should probably have written down cake up there also, just to clarify. But the very first thing you see there is a skein, or sometimes, depending on where you live, you also called maybe a skein, okay? So I called a skein. I know it's different wherever you live, but I'm going to call it a skein. I'm just going to stick with that, and you do you, okay? We're not judging here. Everyone has a different pronunciation of that. In fact, I have noticed that if you talk about other countries like UK or Australia, they're sometimes just call it a ball or a wool. Like they don't even clarify what fiber is. They just say a ball of wool or something, or just wool. It's very interesting how it's different for any country. Now, a ball can be just a ball. Like literally it's a yarn that is wrapped into a ball. Okay, so for example, if you do it by hand, typically people crochet wrap it around into an actual ball that can roll away. You know what I'm talking about? You know the balls that roll away? Yeah. So, but sometimes people call a cake also a ball. Don't know why. I think it's because of the shape. You know, if you pull it a little bit, it almost looks like a ball. But this is a cake right here. A cake is pretty much typically, not always, typically it's flat where that spiral happens. It's flat on the top and bottom and it's wrapped around like this. I'll show you under a picture in a second and how you can create a cake like that. But down here is a hank, and I'm sure most of you guys know, hopefully, what a hank is. A hank is typically, it is wrapped like this, okay? That's literally what a hank is. It is a very, very large circle of yarn, okay? And then it's twisted and twisted until it twists in itself. Okay, so it's first twisted and then it twists in itself, right? So think of like fringe. That's similar to how fringe is made, right? So, and then it twists like that, and then the last little bit is kind of pushed through one of the holes and it holds it in place like that. So it's kind of cool, but you can never use it just like the way it is. See, a skein, a ball, and a hank, a skein, a ball, and a cake can be used just as they are. Like a ball, a hank, well, not a ball, a cake and a skein can be pulled from the center out or from the outside. A ball only from the outside, right? But a hank, you can't use the way it is right here. So let's talk about how to use a hank. Typically you will see a hank if it's hand dyed or specialty yarns. Those are typically in hanks. Very often it's hand dyed yarn because it is much easier to dye yarn by hand if it's in a big loop like that, and then afterwards they twist it. So let's talk about how you turn a hank into a ball or a cake, if you want to call it that way, right? So this is a yarn swift right here, and then we have a yarn winder. I just put one yarn winder that happens to have a cake on top of it. Now there are electronic ones, there are many different types. I just put a couple of links here, and I'm going to show you some other links too. They're not clickable, obviously this is a video, so I highly recommend just taking a screenshot of it. All new modern phones, when you have to take a screenshot and you hold your finger on the words, it will actually allow you to copy it directly from a picture, which is really cool. My phone does that, and most new modern phones do it. If you bought a phone within the last, let's say 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, you're able to do that. So you take a screenshot and then you go into your photos and then you hold your finger down on any of these links, and it'll actually recognize that it's a link and allows you to go from there. Okay, these are affiliate links, by the way. That means I earn a teeny tiny commission from it. So the top one is a yarn winder, bottom one is a yarn swift. So what you're gonna do is when you have a hank, the way I just showed you, is you undo the twist, okay? Then you're gonna wrap it around the swift, and then you may have to adjust the swift, right? It depends on how big it is, the yarn circle. And then you're gonna take the outside piece of it. It's kind of like a knotted part of it, so they don't want it to get like, you know, messy or anything. So you just snip it off, and then you take the outside part of it and you weave it through right here on the side, right in that hole, and then you just simply use your yarn winder. As I said, there's also electronic ones, and it will turn it into a cake. So therefore it will be usable to crochet or knit with. Okay, so you cannot use a hank without it, like meaning you can't use a hank the way it is. You have to turn it into something. Now you can also put it around two chairs, the back of a chair, and then walk around and literally turn it into a ball yourself. Now, do I recommend doing that all the time? No. Once in a while, if you don't have your stuff with you, let's say you went on vacation or whatever and you bought a hank, you just do it that way yourself, right? Like do it one time. But this is kind of one of those investments where I have to say, I know this may be a little extra money, but it's gonna be worth it, right? So every crocheter or knitter should have one of these, one of each. So I have a hand cranking winder as well as an electronic one. Anyways, so do recommend doing that for sure, okay? Brenda says, thank you for the tip on the URL. Yes, that works for pretty much anything, which is why I give you, and this works, by the way, also on a QR code. I have a hair on my mouth. I'm so sorry. That works with QR codes too. When you take a picture of something that has a QR code on it and you tap your finger on it in the gallery, in your photo gallery within that picture, it'll recognize that it's a QR code. As I said, it works the same for links. Okay, so let's see. Dina says, how can you find the end of the inside of a skein without a lot of yarn barf? That depends on how it's wound, and it depends on the company. So I have noticed that some companies, like, what was it? I think Hobby, Premier is getting better at that, having some kind of yarn tail hanging out. So all you have to do is pull. So some of the skeins that you will find out there have a little tail in the end. Sometimes they will even put a little paper on it and says, pull here, right? I have noticed that most of Premier yarns are getting better and better and doing that, but it's not everywhere. So it really depends on the yarn brand and how it's being wound at their manufacturing company. So can I say a universal way of pulling it out? No. I would take usually wherever, when you have a yarn skein and you have one of them that is on the outside, right? So one yarn skein is pulled from the outside and one yarn end is pulled from the outside, the other one's from the inside, right? So wherever the outside one is, so let's say it's tucked in here, right? The outside yarn. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so this one right here was tucked in on this side right here, okay? So wherever the outside one is tucked in, don't go in there. go into the other side, and that's kind of where you put your fingers in, wiggle it around a little bit until you kind of feel like you're in the center, and then you pull it out. You will always get some kind of yarn barf. I just hope and pray for you it's a tiny one. But there are other tools which are probably better for you, and instead of pulling from the outside, you pull from the excuse me, if you don't pull from the inside, pull from the outside. And there's a good reason why. And someone told me that recently. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So if you have a little tool where you can put your yarn on it and you pull from the outside, it's actually better. Let me explain why. So when you pull it from the inside, the outside part is continuously exposed to the environment, any environment, the inside of your house, the outside, a project bag, whatever. So the outside constantly gets dirt on it. So if you pull from the inside constantly where there's fresh yarn, non-dirty yarn, at some point you're going to end on the outside part of it, and now that it's dirty, right? So if you pull from the outside continuously, you will always have fresh yarn. So even if it get a little dirt on it, you continuously use it. So no matter what, you're going to get fresh yarn. So pulling from the outside is actually better for your yarn and your project, believe it or not. And you don't have yarn barf. Hopefully that explains that. Okay, so let's go to the next part. So we talked about this now. So let's talk actually about yarn, okay? So, and as I said, I put links up here. So these are, and I saw a question earlier, so now let me go back to that question. Hang on. Where's the question? I just want to display it. Who was that? Who asked that question? Let me go up. I'm going to find the question. Oh yeah, Miranda. Miranda was asking, what is a good place to buy yarn online? I don't want to say cheap. Cheap is usually the wrong word. Let's call it affordable. Cheap usually means, for me personally, but hey, you do you. For me, when I say cheap, it usually means low quality. We're talking affordable yarn. Let's say it that way. That sounds much better, right? So these yarns that I'm showing you, back to back, I just picked one a company that right now has a sale going on, and that is We Crochet. So all of these links take you over to We Crochet, and they currently have a summer sale going on up to 60% off. So I highly recommend taking a screenshot of any of these pictures with the yarn on it that has a link, and then tap on that. It's an affiliate link. Get a tiny commission at no extra charge to you, and you can check all their sales out. Okay, so that is a brand that I recommend. There's other brands I recommend, Hirschner's. If you want any of the links that I have, just email me. I'm happy to send you those as well. So let's talk about the different types of yarn, okay, which is really important. And I have my little notes in front of me, so if I look down, it just means that I'm looking at my notes. I can't memorize everything, right? You have to have a guide, right? Sometimes you have to have a guide, and this is a good guide. Nobody's asking you to remember everything, right? If you have a go-to guide like this ebook, then it's great. All right, so first of all, there's a difference between animal fibers and plant vegetable fibers, as well as human-made fibers. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's focus first on the animal fibers. Animal fibers have scales. Okay, so think of, like, remember when you watch some kind of commercial about hair, how there's scales and it opens, they always show that when they talk about shampoo and conditioner, they always show the scales of your hair, right? Technically, we're animals. Let's be clear, we're animals. Our hair has scales, okay? So they can open and they can close, right? So animal fibers have those scales. So that means also when you have scales, that also means it can felt. Wool, for example, can felt, right? At certain temperatures and with friction, you have felting. So we'll talk about felting maybe another time, but just want to let you know that you can turn wool into a felting project, even if it's crocheted already. So you always have to be careful on that, okay? But the cool thing on wool is it absorbs moisture, okay? it is very well insulating, so it's great to stay warm or cool all at the same time. And it also is great to dye. So if you ever looked at hand dyed yarn, the reason why you see a lot of wool in it is because it takes dye very well. Other fibers like vegetable or plant fibers, as well as acrylic like human made fibers, they're harder to dye at home yourself. Okay, just that you know. So the other thing is wool is biodegradable, it's breathable, and it has great elasticity. So, you know, there's a nice stretch going on. So if you have a cardigan or something like that, you know that you're either going to be warm or cool, right? It breathes nicely, it has a nice stretch, it feels good. Now, be aware that sometimes wool can be scratchy. That means it was processed a certain way that it's not as soft, right? You can process it really well and make it softer. So that is wool. Let's go to the next one, because wool's not the only thing that is a animal fiber. We also have alpaca. Now, alpaca is actually a lot more insulating and warmer than wool. So if you want to be warm and cozy, you want to use alpaca yarn. Be aware that obviously there's allergies out there. So if you're allergic to wool or alpaca or something like that, obviously you wouldn't use it. But I'm talking about for those who can, right? So alpaca yarn also has usually some fuzz. So I don't know if you can see it on the picture. You usually have some fuzz hanging off. For me, alpaca yarn is very hard to crochet with because that fuzz flies around and tickles my nose. So I constantly sneeze. So Kelly's asking, are there alternatives to wool? In terms of the warmth, maybe. I'm going to go through a few of them, but if you are allergic in general to animal fibers, then you may just need to go to plant or human-made fibers. Those are your alternatives, right? Okay, so in terms of alpaca, it has a beautiful drape, and the fibers, the actual scale part of it is longer than wool, so it is also less likely to felt. So wool has smaller scales, and they felt easier than alpaca. So alpaca doesn't felt as easily as wool does. It takes dye very well, but it's also great in terms of elasticity. Oh my God, it's elastic. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, let's go into the next one, because there's also another few of them. So we have cashmere. Okay, so cashmere is very warm. It is soft. It is very luxurious. So usually when you say a cashmere sweater or something, you're like, oh, that's very luxurious, right? And it typically has shorter fibers than wool, and it's a lot more delicate. So you have to be careful on it in terms of how you take care of it, right? But most of the time it is blended with other yarns, so you will not just see 100% cashmere most of the time. You can maybe find it, but most of the time it's a blend. So you may have a certain percentage of cashmere in it with others. Why? Because it's very delicate, it's expensive, but they want the feel of the cashmere, and then usually they're blended with, let's say, wool or acrylic or something, so that we still have the warmth and the elasticity and the durability of the cashmere, but they also have the other parts in it that give them a little bit more of another characteristic. Okay, so on top of it, we have one more that is considered an animal fiber, and that is mohair. Not very often used, not very often seen in patterns, but it exists. And this one is actually produced by goats, in case you did not know. Mohair comes from goats. It is very warm, lightweight, and strong. It is not very elastic if you compare it to wool, for example. So not very stretchy, okay? But it can be very drapey, but it really depends on how it's being processed. It does have kind of a lot of, fuzz going around. But again, most of the time you will see it into some kind of blend. Okay, so let's go now into the vegetable/plant fibers, okay? So yes, mohair can break, but again, most of the time you will see it as a blend, Donna. So it is not usually 100% mohair, but most of the time you see quite a big percentage if it's in terms of mohair. So let's talk about vegetable fibers, okay? So vegetable fibers, or plant fibers if you want to say it that way, they absorb water very, very well, but they don't felt. They don't attract like moths or something like that. But they do attract mold and mildew. So be careful on that. Plant fibers do not have scales. So therefore, that also means they are less stretchy. They're not very insulating, but they can create a cooling effect. So obviously that's what most people know of cotton, right? So it is a great way to use it for, and it's not stretchy, right? So this is one of the reasons why a lot of people use cotton for things like washcloth. It absorbs water well, but it doesn't stretch, right? So, I mean, the stitches might stretch. Be careful on that. Depends on how you crochet it, right? The stitches might move around. It may make it like, it looks like it's stretchy, but it's not. Cotton is not stretchy. However, if you, and this is one of the ways how I love making cardigans or sweaters, the best yarn, in my opinion, in terms of getting the cooling effect, but still being warm, is having a wool cotton blend. So if you're not allergic to wool, try out a cotton wool blend. Oh my gosh, the drape is incredible. Cotton is heavy. You probably know that. Cotton is very heavy in terms, if you compare that with wool, for example, it's very heavy. So which means it has a great drape. So again, we're talking about a blend right now, a wool cotton blend. It drapes nicely because it has the heaviness, right? The gravity's pulling it down. It still has a cooling effect, okay? It doesn't like bounce up and down because of the cotton in it. However, because there's wool in the blend, it keeps you warm and cool at the same time. It is a really fantastic way to make a cardigan. If you ever tried it, go try it. Wool cotton blend are perfect for cardigans, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see. Kelly, I got your question. Was there another question here? Donna says, cotton is my favorite to work with in the summer. Yes, because it's a cool yarn. It has a cooling effect, doesn't stretch, doesn't have that warming effect, right? So like wool is very warm. So typically crocheters don't use wool a lot unless it's a blend, as I said, during the summer. Okay, so cotton is one of them. Then there's also linen. Linen you will typically see in a combination with some yarn. I haven't seen much linen, 100% linen. For example, this one is a cotton linen blend. Okay, I couldn't find just linen, but I gave you this as an example. Again, there's a link if you want to check it out. It is not, I do want to point out really quickly, let me go back to the other one. This one is really soft. Cotton yarn is usually hard. Not every single one is soft. This one is soft. If you want soft cotton yarn, try the Dishy yarn. Oh, I love that yarn. There's a few others that I love too, but this is one of them. I have a bunch of them and I absolutely love them. However, this one is not as soft, but it has linen in it so that makes it a little less soft, but it's okay. Linen itself, by the way, cotton is very affordable. So in case you're thinking about that, it's very affordable. But in terms of linen, linen is made from a flax plant, F-L-A-X. I'm probably mispronouncing that, flax plant. It is known for its strength and durability, and it lasts a very long time, okay? It is very cool, hypoallergenic. It doesn't stretch, pretty much the same way as cotton does, so it's very sturdy, and it's ideal for washcloths and market bags. So pretty much you can use this the same ways you would use cotton, pretty much, okay? So let's see. Karen says, what do you consider silk? I'm pretty sure silk is part of animals. I just didn't, well, no, actually silk is a funny one. Silk, actually, I'm going to have silk in the next one. So silk, actually, where's my silk? Hang on. Where's silk? I just had it here. There we go. So silk comes from the silkworm. Okay, so Karen, silk comes from the silkworm. So technically, I guess this is kind of one of those. Some people put it under the plant one, and some people put it under the animal one. So it's kind of a funky one. So let's call that like an in between, right? It has excellent drape. So call it like a novelty yarn. I think that's a great way to say it. It's a perfect novelty yarn. It's very slippery. It's slippery yarn. If you ever tried crocheting with it, it's very slippery. I typically prefer using it if it's a blend, so that way it's not as slippery, but it still has that shine. You know, that silk shine that everyone knows of. Everyone that sees a shine and we're like, oh, that's silk, right? It doesn't have to be 100% silk in order to make that shine happen, but this is one of them. As I said, it's slippery, especially on your crochet hook. If you use like a metal hook or something, it can be very slippery. So be careful on that. It is non-stretchy, but it's very strong. So that's a great way to use it. Okay, let's hop into the synthetic yarns. Leslie, I will get to that in just a second. No worries, I will talk about that. First, let's talk about fibers, and then we'll go into the yarn weights. So no worries, we'll get to you, okay? So acrylic yarn is one of the synthetic yarns. So synthetic yarn means it is made by humans, and if you boil it down to the bare bones, it is actually coming from the ground. It is oil. So technically it's a little natural, a tiny bit natural, but it's so processed that it's considered plastic. So acrylic yarn is actually plastic, believe it or not, okay? It comes from natural gas or from oil, natural oil, the black oil, the one that you use for your car, right? Obviously processed a little bit differently, a lot differently, but yes, it is plastic. So I do want to point out really quickly, since we're talking about acrylic and comparing it to other yarns, you may want to remember in terms of blocking, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but in terms of blocking your projects with acrylic yarn, you want to use a steamer. Do never ever touch your iron or steamer on your project if it's acrylic yarn. Okay, as I said, it's plastic. If you remember that acrylic yarn is plastic, what does plastic do under heat? It melts, it can turn black, and it is permanent once it cools down, right? The reason we are able to shape plastic is because we heat it up, then we put it around into some kind of shape or form or something, and then we let it cool down, and it stays that way, okay? So acrylic yarn, do never touch with an iron or steamer, like never touch it. Hover over and warm it up gently, and then let it cool, and it will stay permanently. Now for wool, for example, that doesn't work, okay? It has fibers. It's an animal one. It's an animal fiber. It doesn't work with steamer. It won't do anything with it. However, the only thing it can do is if it has a lot of heat and then you scrub it, you're going to felt it. Okay. So it turns into felt. So what you want to do for wool, for example, that's an example, right? Would be to do lukewarm or cold water, and you literally soak it, and then you put it on your board, and then you let it dry. That's how you do it that's how you block animal fibers, for example. Okay. So with blended yarns, you want to be kind of looking at the percentages. So if you have blended yarn, Joanne's asking about blended yarn. Think about what is the higher percentage of the fiber that's included in the yarn. Okay, so if you have a high percentage of wool, let's say 80 to 20% to acrylic yarn, I would still use it the way I would when I used wool. Okay, so the way I would block it is if it's like wool yarn, pretend it's 100% wool yarn. Okay, that's what I would do. So you want to think about that, whatever's the higher percentage. Now you do want to be aware there's other blends in it, like other fibers, so it may have a different effect, but you want to think about that. Usually a higher percentage, that's what I'm aiming for. Okay, so let's go. So this is acrylic yarn, one of my absolute favorites, by the way. If you've never tried Brava yarn, it's one of the most affordable acrylic yarns with a lot of yardage. Wonderful to work with, very nice and soft. Love this yarn. It's usually like $3.99, like regular price, and then sometimes you see it on sale for like $2.99 or something like that, or even lower depending on the sale, right? This is a fantastic yarn. Take a screenshot if you haven't done it yet. This is a great one. Okay, let's see. Ashley's asking, what type of yarn is 70% superwash wool and 30% nylon? That's actually what the yarn is. There is no like, You can't just define it as like, oh, it's animal or something like that. No, it is a blend. That's what it is, right? So it is 70% wool and 30% nylon. That's what the yarn is. So, you know, whenever you have a blend, you want to call it out for the blend that it is, meaning the yarn fibers that's included in it. It doesn't get a special name besides blended yarn, okay? Let's see. What's the best yarn to begin with when you're a beginner? Paula, wonderful question. I would recommend acrylic yarn. It is the most easiest to work with. It doesn't have all these fancy categories, characteristics, and things like that. I highly recommend starting with acrylic yarn if you are a beginner, and you will not have a lot of issues with that. Usually that is good to go, and then you don't have like issues in terms of felting or being too warm or something like that. Acrylic, plus it's affordable, so if you mess up, it's okay. You can always grab another one. Okay, so that's what I would recommend for a beginner. So let's go to another one that is also synthetic. Okay, so synthetic yarn has different varieties. Polyester is another one. Again, that comes from natural gas. Okay, it is just processed totally differently. This happens to be polyester chenille yarn. Okay, so polyester sometimes is also like, you know, blanket yarn. You've probably seen those ones before from Yarnspirations. You have seen those really big, you know, skeins, right? This one is a little one. King Cole, some really great yarn. They are under We Crochet, so you can find them under We Crochet. There's the link for that. This is called Yummy Yarn. It is really good yarn. I like this yarn. If you like to do amigurumi or something like that, this is a great yarn to check out. Again, it is under We Crochet. It is polyester yarn. Obviously a little bit different from acrylic, but it is usually the texture that's different. Polyester yarn is usually very, very soft and it's fuzzy. That's usually how you see it. Okay, so there's one more yarn that's part of this category, and it's Plarn. I grabbed this image from this website down here. It is not my image. I do want to point it out. Let's give credit where credit is due. This is Plarn made into a ball. So if you want to compare that to a cake, this is a ball. Okay, so Plarn is made from plastic again, right? But in this case, it is recycled yarn, grocery bags. So you can take your old grocery bags and you cut them in a certain way that it's a very, very, very long string, right? And then you just simply wrap it around into a ball, and you may have to knot a few things right there, right? So it's never a long one, but it's long enough when you can put knots in between, right? Let's see. Karen has a question. What holds best shape and weather for spare tire cover? My acrylic is sagging after a while. Well, I can tell you why it's sagging, because it's hot weather. And what did we just say about acrylic? It is plastic. And what does plastic do under heat? It melts. So you probably have some melting going on, even though it may not look like it, but it's melting. Okay, so I would say cotton is probably a good one. It doesn't stretch. It's okay with heat. So cotton is a good one in terms of covering something up outside. Okay. Yeah, t-shirt yarn is nylon. This is nylon is t-shirt yarn. Okay. So, well, not always. It's usually not 100% nylon. There's usually a little bit of cotton in it. But yeah, it's usually under the nylon category. That's what t-shirt yarn is. Okay. But Plarn is very popular in terms of making some bags or something like that. Some people make things for homeless people. Or what is that? There's a new phrase, right? You're not supposed to say homeless. What is the other way? Houseless, I think? I don't know. Anyways, for those who you want to donate to, it doesn't even have to be them. It can be a friend too, right? So you can use Plarn to make plastic bags, like recycle them and make other bags, right? I've seen that a lot. I've seen some people make pillow covers and things with it. Don't know if that's very comfortable, but I guess it works in weather outside. There's people that use it for mats, you know, like welcome mats. There's other things you can do with it, you know, like some kind of rugs or something. As I said, many different examples of what you can use with Plarn. You do need quite a bit of plastic bags, so unless you are getting them for free, you're going to pay quite a bit, right? We all know, especially in California, you have to pay for plastic bags, so I don't know if I would recommend doing that with those. It's 10 cents a bag. That's a lot of bags you're going to need in order to make some kind of project, so maybe think about that. All right, let's hop over to the next subject, which which is kind of related to all this, but still yarn, right? You do want to know about laundry tags, okay? So the symbols. So you want to look at yarn and you want to look at the symbols. That is one of the ways how you can figure out how to take care of your project. Now, here's the thing. You may know this, but the gifter or the buyer may not know this. So please, when you are selling or donating or gifting a project, please tell them how to take care of it. Yes, you already put so much love and work into it, but if you don't take care or tell them how to take care of it, they're probably going to ruin it and you're going to be the one most likely upset. They're not going to be as upset, I have this feeling, because you're the one who made all the work. They're probably somewhat upset, but not as upset as you are. So please tell them how to take care of it. So if you have a yarn ball or yarn skein or hang, they usually tell you. For example, this one right here, ooh, it's a little hard to see. This one says washing machine, okay, lay flat to dry, so don't put in a dryer. Then it's just translated into Spanish over here. So there is a few symbols here that you may want to know. For example, the temperature right here. Let me see. What is the temperature on here? This one says 86 degrees Fahrenheit is the max. So be careful. Don't put too much temperature on here, right? Then you also have no iron. This is another example, right? Don't use an iron on it. Here are some of the symbols right here explained. So if you see, this one says do not iron. What else is on here? There's a circle with an X on it. That means do not dry clean, right? Because dry cleaners use certain chemicals, etc. So those are just of the things that you kind of want to be aware of, and you want to tell the person you are selling something to that you crocheted or gifted or donated, whatever. Please, please tell them. It's not fair to you, the project, or them. So always tell them, okay? So Emily has a question. What is the best yarn for purses, bags, and totes? In my opinion, it's some kind of cotton blend, because cotton, as I said, is non-stretchy and therefore it will hold its stability a little bit better. Again, another yarn would be nylon or a t-shirt yarn, which is usually a combination of nylon and cotton yarn. Again, those are really great. Acrylic is another good one because it also doesn't stretch. But if you want to use it outside in the heat and things, acrylic is yarn not the best. Cotton yarn is usually the best in terms of bags. It's also great to wash. A lot of people love using it for farmers market bags, you know, the filet crochet ones, because they hold up very well. So usually you're really good on that. Okay. So let's see. Then we have another thing that we want to talk about. Okay. And that is yarn weight. I know some of you guys were asking about this. Okay. I saw your question. Okay. Yarn weights. There are different types of yarn weights. Now there is also something lower than that in these categories, and that's typically known as thread. Okay. So anything lower than 0, you will see as thread, and then it has other terms, but because we don't really use thread a lot, although you could crochet with it, like a really tiny hook, we're not going to talk about those. Okay, let's just talk about the regular ones that everyone knows of, and that is you will typically see that on your yarn ball. So on mine, for example, right here, you see it's 5 bulky yarn, so you will see it right there. So these symbols come directly from the Craft Yarn Council. So I just took a screenshot of it so you can see how it looks like. So you have lace, it's 0, very, very rare you're going to find that one, but it's out there. They're super fine, which is also known as fingering weight, in case you have seen that. Fingering weight is number 1. Then fine yarn is typically sport yarn. Then you have light, which is number 3, which is DK yarn. Sometimes people call it light worsted. By the way, in case you don't know, DK stands for double knitting. It comes from the UK. In the UK, if you ever see yarn directly from the UK, from England, you will see sometimes double knitting on it. You will look around and look at the label, because sometimes they don't use those numbers, right? They just use the words, and you look around the label and you can't find it. It's like, why can't I find what is the weight of this yarn? And then you see double knitting on it, and it's like, I don't want to knit with it, I want to crochet with it. Well, double knitting is DK, okay? That stands for, and they use it a lot in United Kingdom. them, okay? A lot. So they actually prefer DK over worsted. Don't know why, but they do. So then we have bulky yarn, which is chunky yarn. And then number 5. And then number 6 is super bulky yarn. And sometimes you also see roving yarn like that. And the same is true for jumbo yarn. It's also sometimes roving yarn. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, not too much though, and it's S twisted versus Z twisted. One of those questions I get all the time is, Nikki, my yarn is splitting. I don't know why, and what can I do about it? And the worst examples or the worst answers I get is saying, pull the yarn from the inside instead of from the outside. You guys, if I put an S upside down, is it an S or is it a Z? Write it down. Put an S in front of you. Take a paper of it. Put it in front of you and then flip it upside down. Like, you know, literally flip it upside down. Is it an S or a Z? It's still an S, okay? If you pull the yarn from the outside or from the inside, it does not matter. The S stays an S, okay? So I have seen some crocheters say, just pull it from the inside and it will twist better. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It's the S is S, okay? And a Z is a Z. Now here's the thing. Let me explain real quick. Z twisted yarn as a right-handed crocheter is usually preferred. Can you find it? No, not anymore, unfortunately. There were a few yarns out there, very popular, like Furls used to have something called Crocheter's yarn. That was Z-twisted. Z-twisted pretty much means it's the opposite twist, right? And the reason it's called Crocheter's yarn is because most crocheters are right-handed. And when you crochet and you use your hook and you twist, you know, the yarn overs and stuff like that, those ones go with the twist. And when you use Z-twisted yarn, you actually are tightening the twist and therefore crochet easier. So most yarns is S-twisted yarn. Why? Because it actually is because of knitting, believe it or not. Let's go really quickly back. Knitting is much older than crochet, and because of that, they created yarn that was great for knitting. So for right-handed knitters, S-twisted yarn is perfect. It's because of the way you pull the yarn when you knit. So it actually helps when you knit to have S-twisted yarn. Now for crocheters, that's unfortunately not the case. So now if you're a lefty, hey, lefties in the crochet community, you have a good thing going on because S-twisted yarn goes with your twist. So the lefties actually benefit from this in terms of crocheters. So the reason it's splitting is because of the twist. So yarn is made out of ply, so many different strands that are twisted in itself, right? Look at your project, look at your yarn. Let me see if I can find one real quick here. So here's yarn that is twisted. Ooh, you can't see it. There you go. It's twisted within itself, right? There's plies in it, and the way it's twisted can be hard, like really, really strong twist, or it can be a loose twist. So you will see some yarn that splits naturally because the twist is very loose. Think of Caron Simply Soft. Yup, that is a one that's very, very loosely spun, and that will split all the time, okay? And that's just what it is. So most yarns are S-twisted yarn, so you just have to look. So you will see sometimes yarn like this one is, it's kind of a chainette yarn, so it looks like a knitted tube. Those ones are great because there's no twisting going on, right? So those ones are great. But you will see it sometimes happening. So just be aware of that, okay? Let's do a couple more things, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this ebook right here. So we have gauge. So gauge is something that allows you to figure out how many stitches are within a certain measurement. So you have a few different tools right here that you can use. By the way, this tool, if you use my coupon code up there, you can get 20% off of that. This one is a great tool. I have it here. It's a fantastic way without having to really count or anything. You literally lay it on top of your project. Okay, I'm going to put my hand in it so you can see it better. And then you just lay it on it, and then you will find your stitches. So if they fit right in this little framework, you know how many stitches are in 1 inch, right? And it has all kinds of different versions of it. So you literally just move it around and figure out how many stitches you have per inch. Now, that tells you the stitch amount. The other thing you're going to need is how many rows you have. You can use this as well. You just have to turn it, right? Then you can figure out how many rows you have within within 1 inch. So it gives you the same number, right? So for example, it would be, if I pick this one here where my finger is, this one right here, and I look at how many rows, I would then know it's like 4.5 rows per inch, but you have to just turn it, right? So it's either this way and you would count your stitches, or it's this way and you count your rows. So the other option would be a tool like this, where you actually have to do the counting yourself, and you lay it over and figure out where it is, and then you count your stitches within like a certain measurement, and that's how you can figure out gauge. Now be aware, if your gauge doesn't match what the pattern says, you need to know how to adjust it. Okay, so let's say you have too many stitches within a measurement and you should have less. That means you need to go down in hook size, and then the same is true vice versa. Okay, so think about that for a second. Okay, let's see. Was there a question that I missed? Diana saying baby yarn. Baby yarn can be literally anything. So baby yarn for me is typically polyester, acrylic yarn, even cotton yarn. This is usually what I aim for in terms of baby yarn. I would never really use animal fibers because of the allergies that it happens a lot. And babies, well, they're sensitive, okay? And they don't have all the antibodies yet. So be careful on that. I would not recommend using animal fibers in terms of babies. Typically you go with acrylic, polyester, or cotton yarn. Those are usually really good in terms of baby projects. Okay, so once you kind of know this, let's talk about something really quickly. Is what if you lose your label? How often have you lost your label? Please tell me. By the way, if you have learned something here, I would highly recommend you share this video with your crochet besties. They're probably going to learn something. Okay, so let's see. Ashley was saying something. I'm a lefty. Yes. Was there a question about lefties? I feel like I missed something. I don't see a question about lefties. Okay, so if you have a question about the lefty part of it, let me know. So this, something right here, if you have ever seen something similar, they don't all look the same, but this is the one that I have, or a version of this, and this is called wraps per inch. So what you want to do is, if you lose your label, is you want to wrap it around this tool. I recommend getting a tool, because you can use a 1-inch ruler, but you're going to have to put some sticks on it, because you need to stop at certain points, right? You see that little edge right there? If you go further, you have a wrong measurement, right? This is an exactly 1 inch. How many wraps can you do around it? And it will tell you here what yarn weight you have. However, it's not very accurate. If you pull too hard, where, for example, you have fluffy yarn, right, and you pull too hard, it makes it thinner than it's supposed to be. So always gently wrap it around, just like it's wound around your ball. Do not pull too hard when you wrap it, and then you can figure out what your yarn weight is. How many wraps are within 1 inch? And this is a great tool to have if you ever lose your label. Now, it won't tell you about fibers though. So what you want to know about fibers is a burned or bleach test. Now, it doesn't give you all the fibers, but at least can give you something. Cotton yarn is usually easy to figure out. You can feel it. The problem is blends. Those are the problem ones. So here's a little screenshot. It comes directly from my ebook. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you're going to check it out. So burn test allows you to figure out really quickly if it's like cotton yarn, for example. This is an example. Cotton yarn burns quickly and the flame gets bigger and bigger because it's cotton yarn. It can burn, right? Then you have protein yarn. So think of animal yarn, right? It usually doesn't do like a flare up and is self-distinguish. Pretty much it goes out by itself. The flame doesn't stay. And then you have synthetic yarn. You know what that is. I mentioned earlier, what happens to plastic when you burn it? It can melt, it can drip, it can produce all kinds of smoke you don't want to inhale. So be careful on that. Always just use a teeny tiny bit when you test it. And always do it outside. You never know what it is, right? Bleach also, please do that outside. Don't smell all this stuff. And then bleach can also take longer to figure out, right? So depending on the fiber, protein fibers, for example, it completely dissolves in bleach. It literally disappears, but it takes 24 to 48 hours to figure that out, right? And if you have a little bit left over, let's say you have a blend and you use the bleach test and you see that your yarn shrunk It's still there after 24 and 48 hours, but it shrunk. That means it was a blend. There's some wool in it, but there's also something else in it, right? So for example, you can see here a protein synthetic blend, right? So an animal with plastic yarn, what happens there? So you kind of want to know about this in case you ever lose your label. I hope you sure don't. Never lose your label, otherwise you have to mess with this. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about today is colors. So if you don't know how to combine colors, here is my go-to. If you ever want to know my go-to, and if you've been around for a while, you know my go-to. My go-to is using some kind of neutral yarn and then combining it with some kind of bold yarn or gradient yarn. Do you want an example for that? Ta-da! That is my go-to. When I make a project that is not animal related, not a plant, something like that, like if it's like a bag, a blanket or something similar to that, or a cardigan or a shawl or a hat, when I use multiple colors, I go with this. It is a very soothing, very harmonic way of using yarn. Typically, if you use a lighter natural yarn, you want to use kind of on a darker colored yarn. So think of white and blue, for example, right? And then black, for example, that is great to combine with yellow, for example. Like you kind of go in the opposite in terms of temperature, right? Like in lightness. So if you use something black or dark gray, I would combine it with something lighter in this kind of color wheel right here. Okay, so does that make sense? Let's see. Yes, extinguish. I think I wrote it wrong. I just noticed I may have made a typo. Yes, I meant that. Yes, that's what I meant, Susan. Anyways, was there another thing that I forgot? See, this is what happens. I'm German, and sometimes I make a typo. You know what? It could also be a autocorrect. Let's be clear. Sometimes we have autocorrect that changes it in weird ways. I think I may have written it right, and it just changed it. Anyways, that's fine. Okay, so this is my go-to in terms of colors. If it's not an animal, let's say an amigurumi or something, right? Or if it's not a plant or something, right? For the plants, I go with whatever the plants should be, right? But if I pick something that is not related to some kind of living thing, let's say a blanket with some stripes on it or something like that, I go with this. I go with something neutral with something powerful, colorful, right? Something that stands out, like something eye-catching. So that's my recommendation if you want to pick colors. So what do you think? Have you learned something new here? I would love to know. Now that we talked a lot about yarn, let's briefly, let me ask you a couple of questions, and we're going to transition to this, and then we do prizes at the very end. You guys are doing fantastic. Are you learning some stuff here? I would love to know. But one of the things I want to ask you really quickly is there something that still frustrates you in terms of yarn? Now, I've talked a lot about yarn right now, but I would love to show you where you can get some of the answers for your questions. So name a few things that you feel frustrating in terms of yarn, something you haven't learned yet or you may want to learn about. So let me know, is there something that you think immediately, I was like, oh, I wish you would have talked about this. Let me know. I might actually have it, but it's going to be in here and I'll show it to you. What do you think? Do you have something that pops in your head right away and say, oh, this is frustrating, I need to know, how do I do this? How do I take care of this? I'm sure you have something in your mind. Let me know. You guys are telling you learned a lot. Donna says, I learned lots. Susan says, I'm learning lots. Thank you. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you have learned. Connie says, most definitely. Yay. I'm so glad. It looks like you guys learned a lot already. Let's see. Colleen? I don't know. Or Rosie? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what your actual name is. So this is probably stupid question. There are no stupid questions, you guys. They're just questions, okay? They're never stupid. Don't say that. I have a color wheel, but I'm not sure how to use it. Okay, so color wheels, let's be clear. Color wheels were invented for painting, okay? Let's be clear on that. First of all, they're invented for painting. I happen to have one right here. Oh no, something got stuck. Here we go. I have one right here. Okay. Ooh, I have two of them, I guess. Let's just use one. Okay. This is a color wheel. Is it upside down? Yes. Okay. This is a color wheel and it allows you to see different colors. Okay. So like the color wheel, it actually has some explanation right here. So one of the things you can use with it is figure out what are contrasting colors, like things that are on opposite of each other. For example, orange and blue, they are contrasting colors. They're on the opposite side of your color wheel. They will make a powerful punch. Okay. So that is not, sometimes I would say contrasting colors that are opposite on the color wheel, they make a statement. They're not very soothing. Okay, they're usually not soothing. So if you want calming ones, stick with what's a neighbor. Let's call them neighboring yarn colors, right? Neighboring colors, those are soothing. Opposite, think of, you know, plus and minus. They're opposite. So they can be very powerful. They make a powerful statement. So this is something you can use with it. There's other explanations too. This color wheel, for example, also gives you like different brightnesses and stuff. And if you combine it with something, for example, let me kind of twist it in a certain way. Okay. Now, again, this doesn't work for yarn, but if you combine blue with yellow, you make green. Now you can't do that really in yarn, if that makes sense. But it works for yarn dyers, so they probably need to know that, is if you combine blue with yellow, you will make green. You know, that's another thing. On the back, you see different colors in terms of brightness, and there's some other information. But that should help you a little bit in terms of how to use a color wheel. There are other things, but those are the main things you need to know as a crocheter, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see. I'm seeing some questions here. Pulling yarn has been a frustration. I mentioned that earlier, Diana, excuse me. There's actually something else I want to show you really quickly. Let's see if I can find it. I'm sure I can. It was towards the back of it, or like, actually it's more towards the center of it. There are some tools that you can use that can help you. Let me see if I can find it. I want to show you really quickly. I think it may have been in the front, actually. I have so much information in this one, and I want to show it to you. Actually, I'm going to remove this for a second and then show you. Yep, I found it. Perfect. Okay, so let me show you really quickly. Actually, I'm going to put my link for this ebook into the comments real quick, so you have that there too. Okay, so let me remove my picture here for a second. Okay, and I'm going to show you my camera. So in this ebook, this happens to be page 28. Okay, so I highly recommend that you use one of these tools. Now, some of them are more affordable than others. There's other tools, right? Something where you can put it on a magnetic stick or something. That works great too. But this, and if you want to know what it is, it's kind of mini minders. Here's a link for it. You could take a screenshot if you want. That way you can have that link. But this is what I would recommend doing. Don't pull from the inside of your yarn. Pull from the outside to always have clean yarn. I mentioned it earlier. And if you put it on here, it allows you to pull from the outside. It is so much better for your yarn and your project. Looks cleaner all the way through. Okay. So then Donna has a question about knotting. I will get actually into knotting in a couple of days because actually maybe tomorrow. I need to look at my schedule. There's one day in the next few days I'm going to talk about knots. So Donna, I'm actually going to answer that in a couple of days. Okay. So let's see. Was there another question? Let's see. Can you please repost the link you mentioned in the beginning? Which link, Paula? Which link? I showed a lot of links. I need to know exactly which ones. Every yarn had a link. I actually recommend you go back after the live is over, watch the replay because you can pause it and then you can see the link again. Okay, Paula, I actually recommend that. That way you see all the links. Okay, it's much better for you. Let's see. Rosie, I'm just going to go with Rosie. How do you tell which end to pull a center pull? I kind of mentioned that earlier as well. Again, I don't recommend doing it. And when you put your finger in, you can't usually find it. Yeah, some yarns have it coming out and you're lucky. Some, when you put your fingers inside a ball, there's no way to figure this out. Like, you're going to have to mess around and pull something out. And usually you pull something like this. You have to keep pulling until you will find your beginning. There's no big science to it. It's just how they're wound, and every company does it differently. Okay, let's see. Ro was asking where can we get one of these things or my ebook. The ebook is the link right there. Those things right there, just take a screenshot. The link is right there. It's on the screen. Okay, right there. That's your link. I can't type all of them up into the comments. That's gonna be link spamming, and the system might, shut me off, and I don't want to do that. So please take a picture of it if you want to grab anything like that, and that way it's much better for you. Okay, let's see. Was there another question that I can get you an answer for really quickly? Kelly has a question. I have started a project and will not be long enough. So if I add to the end, can I do the same as the new beginning, join to start the end, let's say double crochet stitches? I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question really quickly. Are you talking about making a knot and then continue crocheting? Yes. With a different yarn? Yes. I would stick with the same yarn weight. Or what are you trying to do? Oh, I think you know what you're trying to do. You're trying to just add onto on the bottom. Is that what you're saying? In that case, just keep going. Just keep going and crochet on it. Will it look different if you start on the bottom? Yes, it will look different. I recommend continuing on the top to make it look much cleaner, much better. Let's see. Paula says the 60 to 7. Any of the links I showed earlier take you to We Crochet. All the yarn links I showed earlier. Let me show you one of them. Really, it doesn't matter which one I'm showing you because all of them take you over to We Crochet. I'm just going to pick the first one. How about that? The very first one was this one. Okay, just take a screenshot of this. Any of the yarn links that I showed you take you over to We Crochet. They have that Tiddly link where it says Tiddly. Okay, they all take you over to We Crochet. Their entire site is currently, I think, up to 60% off right now. The entire site. Now, I don't know which yarn is on sale, which one's higher, which one's low. I don't know, but take that link and then figure out which one you want, and then you can see what percentage they're off right now. Okay, so let's go back to your guys' questions. Was there another question? Rosie has a question. When you look at the label, the pull yarn will always be on the right side when it's a label. Not always. Unfortunately, it's not. Here's what I said earlier, and I'm going to show it again real quickly because this yarn is actually perfect for this example. Okay, so here's my yarn. Okay. And it's proving my point right now of what you're saying. You say it's always on the right side. Look, this is my label. And then here's on the right side. Okay. No. Are you talking about the yarn that's from the outside? Let's see. I will be on the right side. So the outside yarn is always going to be at the area that looks like this. You're going to find the outside yarn very quickly usually, and it's usually hanging over here. This is the outside yarn. I can tell it's right here. This is the outside yarn right here. Okay. Now over here, usually on the opposite side, it looks different. Do you see how it looks different right here? So this looks like this. This is where the top yarn is. And the inside usually has it like this. It looks different on this side. That's where you pull the inside yarn from. I would not look at the label. Here's why. You can take the label off and flip it over. It doesn't matter, right? And some people do it at the stores. They take it off, put it back on. You never know. Don't say right and left side. That's not a good way to figure that out because people twist labels all the time. Look at your actual skein, okay? And that way you know exactly where you can pull it. Again, I don't recommend doing it because it's not as clean. The yarn is not as clean, okay? So let's see. Was there another question? I want to just do one more question and then we're going to go into why you should maybe think about getting this ebook. Let's say Susan has a question. How do you know how much yarn to get for a project when using different yarn from a pattern suggests? Yes, I actually have something like this. Okay, let's go into this ebook, and I actually have a question. I have the question answered for you. Okay, so, and I'm gonna look really quickly where that is, and it usually, yeah, right here. Okay, whoops, you can't even see that part. My apologies. Right here, it says, how much yarn do I need for each pattern? Page 68. So if you have the ebook already, go check it out. 68. Okay. And if I go to 68 right here, this is where you can find it. Okay. I have an entire explanation for it. And then you can see also a formula for it. How do you figure it out? Now you do want some of that yarn on hand. so that you can make a swatch, because you're going to need that. You're going to need to know how much yarn you use for a specific swatch, for a specific measurement, for a specific gauge, and then you can backtrack and figure out how much you're going to need for the entire project. But you're going to need that information, okay? So sometimes, you know, ordering online can be a little hard unless they give you the information of gauge, which sometimes they do, okay? So hopefully that explains that a little bit in terms of how much yarn you're going to need for a project. You need to know the gauge first, and then you can backtrack it. How many stitches are you going to use for that entire project for that width? And then you can backtrack it and figure it out. So there's an actual formula for it, but you need to know first your gauge for that swatch with that specific yarn and the hook you're going to use, okay? So let's talk really quickly about why this ebook is so amazing and why so many crocheters are getting it already, okay? So you have a lot of things to think about, but one of the things, and you know now that whenever you have a frustration, you can find it in the ebook. I just proved it to you, okay? But the other things that you have in this ebook, and you want to think about this really clearly, because there's no ebook like this out there. The first thing is, do you want more tips? We're talking more than 900 crochet tips, okay? The next thing is, it has very detailed explanation, and it has large font. You just saw that. Here's the explanation, right? This is letter size. Look how large the font is. This is size 14. Okay, so very large font. It's easy to read and has a lot of detailed explanation. It also comes with clickable video tutorials and materials. So anything you see here in blue, green, or something like that, those are clickable. Now, obviously mine is printed, so I can't like tap on it, right? But on a digital file it is. So you can just tap on it and it takes you right over to the yarn, the materials, whatever. Be aware sometimes the yarn doesn't exist anymore and it just have like a page that says, hey, it's discontinued or something. It happens, but most of the yarn I put in here, it still exists. Okay. Then you also have printable templates. Oh my gosh, I haven't even shown you those yet. Keep in mind that the other thing you don't really have access to usually when you have a book is the author. In this case, I'm the author. You can always email me if you have a question, okay? So the next thing I want to show you really quickly, and this is related to the templates, and as I said, it is printable. As you can see, I printed mine out. It has a clickable table of content on the digital file, of course, but I want to show you really quickly on the templates because this is something that can really, really help you, right? So let me show you. So some of the templates, I'm trying to hold my book here properly. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit. This can be a little easier to see. There we go. So you're going to get charts like this that you can print out, right? You also have things like this you can print out. But on the back of the ebook, there's a lot of extra things you can print out. So things like making a blanket. If you want to like draw something here, you can print this out as many times as you need for your personal use, right? So you can write down your measurements. And I even have it for like tote bags, all kinds of different purses. We have a scarf. We have even, if you want to do like a cup cozy, right? Or a little pouch. We have a hat, you know, different types of things where you want to write down your measurements. Then you also have all of these extra things like notes. You have like a tracker. Let me move over a little bit so you can find it. Notes. You have monthly projects. You have a weekly planner. You have a project planner. Different ways, you know, different styles. Daily planners, drawings. We have counters. Oh my God, I love these. Different ways. You can have this one, right? You have this one if you prefer with colors. Some people prefer that. Really, it depends. This one is a great one. I would, you know, put this in some kind of protective sleeve, laminate it or something so you can use it over and over again, so you can mark where you are in terms of how many stitches or rows or rounds or whatever you have done, okay? Then we also have some handmade gift tracker, two different ones, like a general one and a more detailed one. Then we have, you know, if you want to keep track of your favorite stitches, patterns, wish lists. Let's see, what else do we have? Then we have stash inventory, your hook inventory. So if you want to know how much you have, you can write that down. You can always know where everything is. Then this is something I recommend you always have on your project, your whips. So you can keep track of what hook size did you use. By the way, it's important to write down the hook brand too, because Furls hooks are different from, like, say, We Crochet Dots hooks. Some of them are heavy and then you're going to have different tension. Always write down your hook brand. Okay, there's a whole section in this book about what's What's the difference and why does it look different? Hook brand, always write it down, not just a size. This is your tip for the day, okay? But this is something you can put on your project. We have a care instruction of which I highly recommend you add to anything you sell or that you gift to someone. And then you have other things like little, you know, covers if you have it into like a folder or something. Then you have laundry tags, you have hat sizes, hook sizes, color wheel with all the information, how much yarn is needed for certain projects, stitches, symbols. We're going to go through that in the next few days. Stitch abbreviations, all kinds of other templates that you can print out, right? And then there's other ones kind of in between that you can print out. This is 284 pages with lots of pictures, large font, many videos. We're talking more than 100, so there's a lot. Joanne says it's a wealth of information. Yes, it sure is. I'm going to put the link into the description again. Rosanna has a great question. I bought this ebook last year. No, you did not. You bought the 600. That one is now an older edition. It had 136 pages in comparison to this one, which is 284 pages, so more than 150 pages extra, and it has so much more information. Okay, and there was a few people that were asking, what did I add onto it? Where is it? It is sprinkled throughout because whenever I had more information to give for a certain subject, I added it into. Okay, so think about it like if you buy a book from the bookstore and there's a new edition out, can you get that for free? No, you have to repurchase it. And this has so much information to it that it's absolutely valuable to think about getting it, because if you want to make your crochet better, it is highly recommended. So I added more than 300 additional tips, but on top of the additional tips, I also added 50 additional templates and more than 40 additional videos. So this is a really good ebook. The 600 one is now considered outdated. It is archived. If you have access to it, great. But I will not sell it anymore, if that makes sense. Okay. So Tina says she got it yesterday. Woohoo! I'm so happy for you. Did I celebrate you yesterday already? I hope I did. If not, here's your little confetti. If you bought it already and I have not celebrated you yet, let me know. Happy to celebrate you. Okay. So are there any more questions regarding this ebook? I do want to really answer anything you might have. Okay. So you let me know if there's a question and I will answer it for you. Okay, so let me go through, because another thing I want to show you really quickly is the fact that it has video tutorials. This is actually a big one. I really want you to remember this, because go to a bookstore. I'm actually going to go to one today because I like going to the bookstore. But the one thing that I always look for is there a new crochet book out there? And I look through all of them and none of them have videos. None of them. Yes, some of them have really great pictures. I'm not going to doubt that. They're wonderful. They're probably written really well. Most of them are, especially from designer friends that I know. They do a fantastic job. In fact, there are a few examples I even put in here. There is Eddie Ekman. She has a fantastic book about borders. I actually put that in here and gave you the link to her book because she has a fantastic book about edges and borders. So why would I not share that? Of course. But I give you additional tips on how to make those great. So those I put in here, right? But none of those books you can buy at the bookstores have videos, and this one has more than 100 videos. You don't get that anywhere else. The other thing is you want to think about is this ebook right here with large font. Okay, it is a digital file that you can download and check out on multiple different devices for your own personal use, and you can print it out. The entire ebook you can print out if you want, like I did. Look how many pages that is. And this is double-sided. Okay, I even put my printer in there. So once you download it, right below it, you will see some links. I put my printer in there if you want to know what printer I use, because I have not changed my ink and I still have half a cartridge in there. And I bought this printer like over a year ago. It still has ink in it. It is amazing how long the ink works. This is a fantastic. Why did my video stop? Oh, my video stopped. Let's start over. It stopped. There we go. Anyways, you get a lot of video tutorials in here that you don't see in other ebooks or in other regular books. Karen did. Karen girl, let's celebrate you. Woohoo! Who also did? I want to know if you also did. Oh, there's a question. Ro, you have a wonderful question. How long is the discount for? Right there. June 25th, 2025. Look, I put it right up there so that way you do know it and there's no way that you can forget about it. Look at that date right there. Go get it, okay? Before the deadline, okay? This is the last day up there. So take advantage of it to get more than 900 crochet tips, more than 50 printables, and more than 100 video tutorials, all included in one file. Again, you don't have to print it all. You can just print a few pages, right? Some people like printing it actually in a small format. So this is letter size. You could make it teeny tiny, like a little one, and then you have a little pocket book and you just put it into your project bag and always have it with you. Obviously it's going to be small, right? But you also have a digital file you can always check out, right? Laura got it yesterday and she thinks it's awesome. Yay! I'm so happy. So glad you got it. All right. In fact, I actually want to show you really quickly because someone who got it yesterday already, and that was Sandra. She already gave me a review. Ooh, this is a little tiny. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Why is it so little? It was bigger earlier. Okay, let me read this real quick. This is what Sandra says. Although most of the tips can be found for free on the web. Yes, most, not all, because there's a bunch of them in there that are just for me. The one thing is you don't have to search for them. It is so, I like how she wrote a lot of O's, so nice to have them all in one place and explained by one of the best crocheters out there. Oh, thank you. I didn't even see that part. Nikki is so thorough and easy to follow, and you don't need to look anywhere else to learn and keep learning. Thank you, Nikki, for all you do. You're welcome. She got it yesterday, and she is so, so happy. And look, Connie says the same. Connie says, I have the old one. I did buy the new one because you're great, and I love all the things you put. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it so much, Connie. I am so glad. I just hope that you get a lot out of it because there's so much information there to really improve your crochet, okay? There's so much content in it. And keep in mind, this is something that I show off a lot, and it's really, really helpful to remember, is the table of content is clickable on a digital file. It's literally tap and jump to the content. And then within the content, you will find, wording that is in other colors. Those ones are usually videos or material lists, okay? And it would take you to whatever you need. So a video tutorial, for example, right? And then you can also have that little button that says main menu. I'm going to show it in a bigger format in a second, that you can tap and jump back to the table of content. Let me show you really quickly, okay? So this is my printed version. So you can see there's a main menu button. Now on a digital file, you can tap it and jump back to the table of content, which by the way is 3 pages long. This is how much information is there. All the things you can maybe think about: circles, granny squares, joining, yarn, different types like a video tip for lefties, hook organization, all kinds of other things. What to do with leftover yarn. These are project-based tips. So amigurumi, color changing ones, scarves, make your own grafts, shawls, some other projects, all kinds of other things are all included in here. Sandra, hi girl. Yes, see, I saw your comment and I took a screenshot of it. Gotta show it to everyone. It is the best crochet purchase I ever made. I love hearing that. Thank you for saying that. Have you looked through everything yet? I know there's a lot of information in there. Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate you, girl. Okay, so let me show you. Hang on. What am I just wanted to check real quick what I have open. I want to show you really quickly the table of content a little bit more. Okay, so here's the table of content, page 1. Feel free to pause it at any time and to really look through it, but you can also tap that link. Let me pop it into the comments one more time and you can see it from there as well. So this is page 1. Then we have page 2. Look at all the information. I even added slang into it. If you don't know what certain slang is, like yarn chicken, frogging, and all kinds of other things, it's all in there. Even substituting stitches. That's one of the things a lot of crocheters don't know about. Go check that out if you haven't done that yet. Okay, and then here's page 3. So obviously you can pause the video anytime to see this. I wouldn't do it when I'm live though. You're going to miss the prices. But during the replay, pause it anytime you really see it. Or better, go to this link because then you have the picture right in front of you and you don't have to pause anything, right? There is so much information in just this ebook, so I highly recommend it. I actually made another cover just to show you some of the examples. This is not the official cover, but I want to show you. It talks about the different sizes in stitches. It gives you different tips on color transitions. Then we're talking about different ways of doing turning chains, how to make different ways of triangles, different geometric shapes, even ovals. It talks about hats, how to make them different sizes and always make sure they fit, right? Different types of circles, always making sure they're circles, slip stitches that are invisible, decreases that are invisible, magic rings, different ways. There are so much information in here. You will not be able to find it anywhere else. Oh, Beverly, I love you, girl. She says, don't forget to like and share. I love you, girl. I'm so happy. Elizabeth says, I rarely buy crochet books, but I had to get this one. I am so glad. Elizabeth, have you checked it out? I know you emailed me yesterday, and I know you finally got your ebook. Am I right? I'm so glad you got it. There was several people who emailed me. There was a little bit of an issue on the download, and some people were able to get it, and some people not. I just put it back in, down, like took it down and put it back up, and now it all works. Yay! And Natalie says she purchased it yesterday too. Woohoo! I'm so happy for you. And she says, I was up until midnight exploring. Girl, you need some sleep. You have it for life, okay? Take your time. I love this resource. Natalie, I'm going to take a screenshot of this comment and I'm going to post it on my page for this ebook because everyone needs to know this. This is cool. Natalie, am I allowed to share this? Please allow me to share it because this is amazing. I love this, but you do need sleep. Make sure you get sleep, okay? All right, we talked a lot about this ebook. It is on sale until Wednesday, and we're going to go live again in the next few days. So let me tell you about that really quickly, and then we're going to prizes. So today's Sunday, obviously, we talked a lot about yarn. Unfortunately, we didn't reach 100 viewers, but it's okay. We have a few more days to do that. So we're gonna do 2 questions with 2 prizes today, okay? So I'm gonna go live again tomorrow on Monday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. So same time as today, just tomorrow, right? Different link, of course. And then Tuesday, it'll be 2 p.m. Pacific time because at 12, I'm going live in my membership called the Crochet Club. Come join us if you haven't done it yet. There's over 500 patterns and we meet 6 to 7 times a month. Oh, we have so much fun. Anyways, and then on Wednesday, I'm going to go live again at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So there's a lot of things you're still going to learn in the next few days. So come join us for those. We'll talk about crochet tips again, as I said, and then also we'll give away more prices. So definitely. Let's see. Kathy says, I never bought a crochet book, but I hope to win. I totally get it. As I said, this is random. We will see. Never know. Arlene. Oh, I'm so terrible at names. I'm so sorry. You also got it. Woohoo! I'm so happy for you. And you got the Stitch ebook too. That's awesome. Donna says, I agree, Natalie. I lost the time. Elizabeth says, OMG, I love it. I got it to download. Yes, I'm so glad. Tamara says she just got it. Woohoo! And Linda did too. Look at you guys. I am so glad y'all got it. Let's go. You guys all want to grow your knowledge. Okay, Stella is asking, can I save this book on a thumb drive? Yes, it is a PDF and you can save it in your downloads on a thumb drive, wherever, but it's your personal use. You cannot share it with anyone, okay? Just like a regular book, it has copyright. So when you purchase it, it's for your own personal use, not to be shared. And yes, you can save it wherever you need to. It can save it on your Google Drive if you need to. On a thumb drive, you can print it out for yourself, which by the way is a cool thing when it's a PDF, right? Because PDF allows you to make it like a learning program. So it's like your 24/7 personal assistant encyclopedia, always there for you, having your answers answers for your questions, right? But the cool thing is you can tap things and it's like a learning program. So regular ebooks don't allow you to do this. So if you have like an EPUB or something, it doesn't really do that, right? So you need a PDF for that in order to make that happen. And on top of it, EPUB, in case you don't know what EPUB is, it's usually something used for your Kindle or something to read an ebook, right? So you can change the font size. Well, for PDF, that doesn't work, right? However, PDF allows you to print. EPUB, you can't print. So this is one of the reasons I do a PDF, and that allows you to print it as well as have it a digital file. And the good thing is, if you ever, let's say this burns by accident, your house burns down or whatever, or you lose it, right? You lost your project bag or TSA took it by accident. I don't know, I'm making things up. That's not true, but you know what I mean. You lost it, okay? You can always reprint it out. That doesn't work for regular books. If something happens on your bookshelf, you're gonna have to repurchase all those books, right? What if mold happens, right? We talked about that. It happens with cotton, can happen with paper, right? Mildew, mold can happen, right? It can rip or whatever. For PDF, you can repurchase, re-download it, which is super cool, right? So yeah, it's like a 2-in-1. Sandra says, I also recommend the Stitch ebook. There are only 2 ebooks. Taurus 2, definitely. Let's see, Connie real quick, and then we're going to go into the prices. Connie says, do you have a page in there with the basic stitches? Yes, girl, I do. I do. Actually, there's several pages on the basic stitches. Let me show you. Okay, so we have basic stitches and their heights, and then substituting basic stitches out into different ways, okay? So page 85, for example. Ooh, look at that. Oh, that was magic. Did you see that? I literally just grabbed a bunch and I opened it right there. That was magic. My husband would call it witchcraft, but it was magic, okay? It just happened. Look, yes, the stitches are right there. And then you can also have it, into different other ways. So for example, how can you substitute single crochets, half double crochets, or whatever? You can substitute those out. Really cool. And then in the back here, we also have a cheat sheet. Let me see if I can find it real quick, for symbols. And hang on, was it here? No, it was here, right? The stitch abbreviations, you have them here as well. It's frozen. No, is it frozen? Is it frozen on your end? Oh, it was probably because I was moving on. Ooh, look at my makeup blurring away. Okay, when I'm back, you guys let me know, because I want to do prices now. So hopefully the screen is back to normal in just a second. You guys, are you back? Are you back? Let me know. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to put this picture up here real quick, and then you guys tell me when you're back. Are you back? Are you back? Leave a comment real quick. Typey. Are you back? Because I'm ready to do prices. Okay, ready to do prices. Are you guys back? I see lol, so I guess I'm back. All right, looks like I'm back. Okay, then let's do prices now before we have internet issues. All right, it's time for some prices. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go through this spinning wheel here for a second. What can you win? You can win a free ebook, okay? Then you also have a chance of $10, $15, or $20 off an ebook. Then we have 5 or 10 PDF patterns of your choice, $10, $20, or $30 Ravi coupon code, and then you also have a chance to win a yarn box, which usually only go out like 5 times a year. Okay, so let me show you really quickly what's in the yarn box, and then we go into prices. Ooh, I need to scooch over the other way. There we go. So this is what's in it. So this is usually only goes out to new annual members of the Crochet Club for a special time of the year, usually when it's on sale. Otherwise, you can't get these boxes. Okay, so I have about 5 of these boxes left right now with the special tools in it. It says the Crochet Club on it. Okay, and then we also have this, which is a clip that also has a magnet on it, but it is one or the other. You're either going to get a pop socket or you're going to get one of these clips. And pop socket is for the back of your phone, by the way. It comes with stickers, a tapestry needle. It comes with cat stitch markers. These are from twice you're cheap. This is a brand new way. These are really, really good company. This is a great company. I love them. So there's a bunch of links there too. If you need any coupon codes, let me know. This is the coupon code is 20% off is Crochet Club, by the way. Like all caps all together, Crochet Club. So these two tools, and then I also have this. So I have 5 boxes with these left. So you have a chance to maybe get one of these. And you also have the measuring tape that is a keychain and some yarn. It'll be 1 to 200 grams of yarn, depending on what kind of skein I have available. I usually try to put something nice in there. So if I have it, you're going to get something nice. Okay. So looks like everyone's back. Woohoo! Okay. So we're now going to go into questions. So question number 1, you guys got to typey really quickly and answer it. Okay. Question number 1, name one fact you learned about yarn today. Name one fact of all the things I said this early in the beginning of the video. What did you learn? What is the first thing you remember? Let me know. Name one fact you learned about yarn today. Well, obviously, unless it's completely off rails, anyone has a chance to win here. So the answers can be different depending on you. I'm going to pick a random person to win, and the spinning wheel will decide what you win. Okay? Sorry, I needed a sip of water. Plus, there's a time delay, so I always have to keep talking for a second here. You guys, typey. Name one fact you learned about yarn today. Let's see what you remember. I know there's so much information I gave you today. I hope you learn a lot, though. It looks like most of you girls learned a lot. Typey. Come on, type it up. I know there's a time delay, so I have to wait just a hint longer. Okay. I see some of the comments flying in already. I think our time delay is a little longer than normal. Usually it's like 20 to 30 seconds. And plus you guys are typing, so I have to wait. It's just a hint longer. I wish I could do something silly here and do playing music while you guys are typing. But I'm just going to keep talking and sipping on my water. Okay, I see only a few of you guys so far commented. I need a few more answers. All right. Ooh, they're flying in now. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more seconds. Come on, type it up. Where's my time delay? I want it to go away. Time delay. All right, I see the answers flying in now. Woohoo! Okay, I'm going to remove this now so we can find our winner. Shall we do this? Okay, I'm going to cover my eyes and let's find our winner. I'm going to read some of your guys' comments though, because some of you guys have really good answers. Okay, I'm going to stop right. How about here? We have Sarah Lynn 464. Congratulations. Woohoo! Oh, I made the 2 once. There we go. Woo! All right. She says DK is pretty much three weight. It is 3 weight. Yes. I see some really good answers here. Different kinds of yarn, types, fibers. You guys also said fabric, acrylic yarn melts because it's plastic. Yes. Not to pull from the inside. Yeah. So that way you have always fresh yarn. Pull from the outside. Acrylic is oil-based. Then how to block acrylic yarn. You guys learned quite a bit. Yes. Plant fibers. Wool's warm and felt's easy. Yes. You guys are amazing. Okay. Let's see what Sarah won. Here we go. Sarah won according to the spinning wheel. It looks like 10 PDF patterns of your choice. Woohoo! Congratulations, Sarah. Okay, I'm going to show you my email address in a second, but let's go to question number 2. Question number 2. Last question for today. We have more questions coming in the next few days, so you better show up for that. Question number 2 is, what is the coupon code to save $15 on this brand new ebook with more than 900 crochet tips, more than 100 video tutorials, and all these material links that, to make your crochet life better, and also more than 50 templates that you can print out and use in many different ways. Print out multiple times if you need to, make your whole binder, a journal, whatever. There is so much that you can learn in this ebook. But the question from me to you is, what is the coupon code to save you $15 until, you guys know, June 25th, 2025, which is this Wednesday. It's coming up in just a few days. So what is the coupon code? You guys put it down. So that way you have a chance to win. And I'm going to check. I'm not going to click a random person until I check the answers correct. I messed that one up yesterday. So we're not going to do that mess up again. Not messing up again. All right, you guys, typey, typey, typey. Bloop. It's really, really quickly. So it should be easy to type up. It's only a couple numbers and a few letters. You can do this. You can do this. All right. Looks like we're good. So I'm going to remove this now. We have plenty of answers. So let's see who's our winner. I'm going to cover my eyes. All right. And let's find our winner. Scroll up and down and let's find our winner. I'm going to stop. How about right here? We have Ro Jensen. Congratulations. Woohoo! Is your name actually Ro? Because that's kind of cool. Like a crochet row. Okay, let's see what you won. All right. And the spinny wheel says you won, $10 of an ebook. I have 32 different ebooks and 31 of them are currently not on sale. So you can get one of them on sale. Woohoo! That is awesome. I love a good sale. Congratulations to all my winners. So let me show you my email address really quickly. Here's my button for my email address. So email me if you have any questions whatsoever, or if you're a winner. If you're a winner, put in the subject line, winner of the prize and the date. I always go back to confirm that you are truly the winner. So Nicole at nickishomemadeCrafts.com, or reply to one of my newsletters. That gets to me too. It doesn't matter. Okay, so email me, please, if you have any questions or you are a winner. I need you to email me. You can pause this video at any time so that you can write it down or take a screenshot. Okay, let me remind you really quickly why this ebook is so amazing. It comes with over 900 tips on over 284 pages. That's a lot of pages. Large font, lot of details, many pictures, material list that's clickable, videos, over 100 videos clickable, and more than 50 printables that you can templates that you can print out. My voice is going away. My apologies. You can get this entire ebook right now on sale for $15 off. It's literally going viral right now. The amount of people, crocheters, have already gotten it is incredible. I am mind blown how many crocheters are taking advantage of this and grabbing their copy to improve their crochet. So if you're ready to improve your crochet, get rid of your frustrations, get the answers you've been looking for, then grab this ebook. I'm sure it has the answers you're looking for the questions that you have. Nancy just got it too. Woohoo! I'm so happy for you. All right. Donna, yes, you can email me about all the links in the beginning. Yes, you can. Just email me. If you can tell me specifically what you're looking for, I'll give you that as well. So yes, I am so happy for anyone who has already gotten an ebook. Go grab it if you haven't done so. And let me remind you really quickly that I'm going live again in the next few days. Take a screenshot if you can. And of course, be in my newsletter, my email list, so that way you know the link to go to. So I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Am I right? Go take your crochet skills to the next level, improve them, and get the answers you're looking for in our brand new ebook, 900 Crochet Tips Made Easy. Yes, and it comes with more than 50 printables and more than 100 videos. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!